The invitation was printed on heavy cream cardstock with gold leaf edges. Join us for Richard Montgomery's 60th birthday celebration at Montgomery Estate, Napa Valley. Formal attire required. At the bottom, my cousin Jessica had scrawled in her looping handwriting, "Try to find something appropriate to wear? Uncle Richard's friends are all very successful. Don't want you feeling out of place in your government worker clothes." I was sitting in my Pentagon office when it arrived, surrounded by classified briefing materials for the Secretary of Defense. Through my window I could see the Potomac River and the early morning light reflecting off the Washington Monument. I texted back, "I'll find something." Jessica's response came immediately, "Maybe borrow a dress?" I know government salaries don't leave much room for designer labels. No judgment. We're just operating in different financial universes. I put the phone down and returned to the crisis assessment report from our intelligence directorate. Different universes indeed. My family believed I worked an entry-level position at the Department of Defense. Some administrative role processing paperwork. They'd stopped asking for details years ago when it became clear I wasn't going to follow Uncle Richard into private equity or my cousins into trust fund management. The reality: I was Dr. Catherine Montgomery, Deputy Undersecretary of Defense for Policy. At 37, I was one of the highest-ranking civilian officials in the Pentagon, directly advising the Secretary of Defense and the Joint Chiefs of Staff on matters of national security, military strategy, and international relations. But I drove a sensible Subaru and lived in a modest townhouse in Arlington. I didn't wear designer labels or vacation in Monaco. So my family had decided I was poor. Catherine's doing her civil servant thing. I'd heard Uncle Richard tell someone at last year's Christmas party. Admirable, I suppose, but she'll never have real money. Government work is for people who can't make it in the private sector. I'd smiled politely and excused myself to take a call from the National Security Advisor. Now, looking at Jessica's condescending text, I made a decision. I called my executive assistant. "Colonel Barnes, I need you to coordinate something for this weekend." "Yes, ma'am. I'm attending a family event in Napa on Saturday evening. There's a strong possibility I'll need to be extracted for an emergency briefing. Can you work with the Joint Chiefs Office to have assets on standby?" There was a pause. "Ma'am, are you expecting a crisis?" "No. But I want to be prepared for one." "Understood. I'll coordinate with air operations." Saturday arrived clear and beautiful. I flew commercial to San Francisco, rented a car, and drove to Napa Valley. Uncle Richard's estate sprawled across a hillside, 15,000 square feet of glass and stone, infinity pool, private vineyard. The party was already in full swing when I arrived at 6 p.m. 200 guests in designer clothes, drinking vintage wine, discussing their investment portfolios and vacation properties. I'd worn a simple black dress from Nordstrom and my grandmother's pearl necklace. Elegant but understated. Uncle Richard found me at the entrance, resplendent in a custom suit, a champagne flute in each hand. "Catherine, you came." He kissed both my cheeks. "And you found something to wear. Very nice. Is that..." "And Taylor." "Something like that." "Well, it's lovely. Very appropriate for someone on your budget." He handed me a champagne flute. "Come meet everyone. Though I warn you, the conversation might be a bit over your head. Lots of tech CEOs, venture capitalists, people operating at a certain level." I followed him through the party, smiling politely as he introduced me with variations of, "This is my niece Catherine. She works for the government. Some kind of administrative position. We're very proud that she found steady employment." My cousin Jessica appeared in a dress that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. "Catherine, oh my God, you actually came. And you look so cute. Very office appropriate." "Thank you. I was just telling Marcus about you." She gestured to her husband, who managed his family's hedge fund. "About how you chose public service over making real money. It's so admirable. Selfless, really." "Someone has to do it," I said mildly. "True. Though I could never. The salary alone would kill me." "How much do you make again?" 60,000? 70. Around there, I lied. My actual salary was $185,000, plus security clearances and benefits. Jessica's eyes widened with pity. "Oh honey, I spend that on clothes. How do you even survive?" Very carefully. My cousin Brandon joined us, holding court about his latest real estate deal. Just closed on a property in Aspen. 12 million, but it'll triple in value. That's the difference between understanding money and just working for a paycheck. He looked at me. No offense, Catherine. I'm sure your government job is very stable, even if it doesn't build actual wealth. Before I could respond, my phone vibrated. A text from Colonel Barnes. Crisis developing. SecDef needs your assessment within the hour. Assets are 30 minutes out. I typed back, acknowledged. Standing by. Uncle Richard was now giving a speech on the terrace, his voice carrying across the estate. 60 years old today, and I can honestly say I've built something meaningful. Real wealth. Real success. Not everyone has the drive for it. Some people are content with modest lives, small ambitions. And that's fine. The world needs workers, needs civil servants, needs people willing to accept mediocrity. Laughter rippled through the crowd. Several people glanced at me sympathetically. But for those of us who refuse to settle, he continued, who understand that success means more than a government pension, we know what real achievement looks like. He raised his glass. To another 60 years of excellence. The crowd toasted. I sipped my champagne and checked my phone again. Colonel Barnes, SITREP. Intelligence indicates coordinated cyber attack on military infrastructure. SecDef convening emergency session. You're needed in the situation room ASAP. Extraction in 15 minutes. I texted back. Understood. Location sent. The party continued around me, oblivious. Uncle Richard was now taking private meetings in his study with potential investors. Jessica was showing off her new Birkin bag. Brandon was explaining cryptocurrency strategy to anyone who would listen. My phone rang. The Secretary of Defense. I stepped away from the crowd to answer. Mr. Secretary. Catherine, we have a situation. Multiple adversaries are exploiting a vulnerability in our satellite communications network. I need you in Washington immediately. The Joint Chiefs are assembling. I'm in Napa Valley, sir. But I have extraction arranged. ETA to Andrews Air Force Base in 90 minutes. Good. This is going to be a long night. Bring your assessment of the Indo-Pacific command structure. This could escalate quickly. Yes, sir. I hung up and checked the time. The helicopter would arrive in 8 minutes. I found Uncle Richard on the terrace, holding court with a group of venture capitalists. Uncle Richard, I need to speak with you. Catherine. Come meet some real players. This is Thomas Wu, just sold his company for $2 billion. Thomas, my niece Catherine. She works in government administration. Thomas shook my hand politely, clearly already losing interest. Uncle Richard, I said again, I need to inform you that a military helicopter will be landing on your property in approximately 7 minutes. The conversation stopped. What? I'm being extracted for an emergency briefing at the Pentagon. The helicopter will use your lawn as a landing zone. I apologize for the disruption. Catherine, what are you talking about? The sound of rotors appeared in the distance, growing louder. Jessica ran over. What is that noise? Military helicopter, I said calmly. I have to return to Washington immediately. The helicopter appeared over the tree line. A UH-60 Black Hawk with DoD markings, descending toward the estate's main lawn. The downdraft sent champagne glasses toppling and women clutching their dresses. The party scattered, guests running for cover as the Black Hawk touched down 50 yards from the terrace. The side door opened and 2 Marine guards stepped out, followed by Colonel Barnes in full dress uniform. He strode toward me, saluted. Dr. Montgomery. We need to move, ma'am. The secretary is waiting. Understood, Colonel. Uncle Richard grabbed my arm. Dr. Montgomery? Catherine, what is happening? The entire party had gone silent, 200 guests staring at the military helicopter on the lawn, at the Marines standing at attention, at Colonel Barnes addressing me with obvious deference. I have to go, I said simply. There's a national security situation that requires my assessment. Your assessment? You're an administrator. No, Uncle Richard. I'm the Deputy Undersecretary of Defense for Policy. I'm one of the most senior civilian officials in the Department of Defense. I advise the Secretary and the Joint Chiefs on matters of military strategy and international security. His face went blank with shock. Jessica found her voice. That's impossible. You said you made $70,000 a year. I never said that. You assumed it. My actual salary is $185,000, though that's irrelevant. What matters is that right now adversaries are attacking our military infrastructure, and I'm one of the few people qualified to help coordinate our response. Brandon stepped forward, his phone in his hand, clearly having Googled me. Holy shit. You're on the DoD leadership page. You testified before Congress last year on defense appropriations. You're actually important. I'm actually needed, I corrected. Which is why I have to go. Colonel Barnes cleared his throat. Ma'am, the SecDef is conferencing with the President in 20 minutes. We need to be airborne. Of course. I turned back to my family. Uncle Richard, thank you for the party. I'm sorry to leave early. Catherine, wait. He looked desperately confused. If you have this position, why didn't you tell us? Why let us think you were just a clerk? I told you I worked in defense policy at the Pentagon. You decided that meant I was a clerk because I don't drive a Ferrari or own property in Aspen. You measured my worth in designer labels and vacation homes instead of asking what I actually do. I started toward the helicopter. But your family. Jessica called out. We should have known. Why didn't you make us understand? I paused. I tried. Last Thanksgiving I mentioned coordinating with NATO on military preparedness. You asked if I was planning a conference. At Christmas I talked about advising on Indo-Pacific strategy. You asked if I was proofreading documents. I looked at the assembled guests, all watching with phones out, recording. You weren't interested in understanding because you'd already decided government work was beneath you. A man stepped forward from the crowd. Someone I recognized from national security briefings. David Chin, former chairman of the Joint Chiefs, now a defense contractor consultant. Dr. Montgomery, he said formally. I didn't realize you had family in the area. I've been following your work on integrated deterrence strategy. Brilliant analysis. Thank you, General Chin. He turned to Uncle Richard. Your niece is one of the most respected voices in defense policy. The Pentagon is lucky to have her. He looked back at me. Good luck with the crisis, Doctor. I suspect I know what this is about. Give them hell. I nodded and climbed into the helicopter. Through the window I could see my family standing frozen on the terrace, their party forgotten, watching as the Black Hawk lifted off. Colonel Barnes handed me a secure tablet. Ma'am, preliminary briefing materials. The cyber attack is more sophisticated than initially assessed. They're targeting satellite communications and drone operations. I scrolled through the intelligence reports, my mind already shifting into crisis mode. What's our current defensive posture? Cybercom has implemented emergency protocols, but we're still vulnerable. The SecDef wants your recommendation on escalation options. Tell him I'll have an assessment ready when we land. The helicopter banked toward Washington, leaving Napa Valley behind. Below I could see Uncle Richard's estate growing smaller. The perfect mansion, the perfect party, the perfect display of wealth that meant nothing when actual crises emerged. My phone buzzed with texts. Uncle Richard, Catherine, we need to talk. I had no idea. Jessica, OMG, everyone is asking about you. You're literally trending on Twitter. People filmed the helicopter. Brandon, can you get me a meeting with defense contractors? I have investment ideas. I put the phone in airplane mode and focused on the briefing materials. The crisis took 72 hours to resolve. 72 hours in the Situation Room, coordinating with intelligence agencies, military commanders and international allies. No sleep, endless coffee, critical decisions that would affect global security. When it was finally contained, the Secretary of Defense pulled me aside. Outstanding work, Catherine. The President specifically asked me to commend you. Your strategic assessment was crucial. Thank you, sir. Also, he smiled slightly, I heard about your dramatic extraction from a family party. Social media had a field day with the helicopter footage. I winced. Sir. I apologize for the publicity. Don't. It's a good reminder that our civilian leadership doesn't fit neat stereotypes. Besides, the video of you calmly discussing national security while your family looked shocked was the best Pentagon recruiting material we've had in years. A week later my uncle called. Catherine, I owe you the biggest apology of my life. Yes, you do. We've been terrible. Dismissing your work, your achievements, your entire career because you didn't fit our definition of success. I know. Can you forgive us? Can we start over? I was silent for a long moment. Uncle Richard, you spent years making me feel small because I chose service over profit. You mocked my government salary at every family gathering. You introduced me to your friends as a cautionary tale of someone who'd settled for mediocrity. I was wrong. You were worse than wrong. You were willfully ignorant. I work on matters of national security. I help protect this country. I advise the most senior military leadership in the world. And you decided that was worthless because it didn't come with a mansion. Catherine, please. I'll think about whether there's a path forward. But it won't be the same. You don't get to dismiss someone for years and then expect immediate reconciliation when you discover they were important all along. I understand. I hung up and looked out my office window at the Pentagon grounds, at the people moving purposefully through the building, at the machinery of national defense that operated whether anyone acknowledged it or not. Jessica texted, "The video of you has 15 million views. Everyone's calling you the helicopter diplomat. Can I come visit? See where you work?" I didn't respond. Marcus sent a LinkedIn request with a message. "Would love to discuss defense industry investment opportunities. Your insights would be invaluable." I declined it. My cousin Brandon left a voicemail. "Hey, so I'm telling everyone my cousin is basically running the Pentagon. Hope that's cool. Great for my network." I deleted it. 6 months later, Uncle Richard sent a handwritten letter. "Catherine, I've spent half a year thinking about what happened. About how badly I failed you. Not just at the party but for years before. You're right, I was willfully ignorant. I didn't want to know about your work because acknowledging it would mean admitting that my definition of success was shallow and incomplete. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm just telling you that I finally understand. Real success isn't measured in properties or portfolios. It's measured in impact, in service, in work that matters beyond yourself. You've been successful in ways I'll never achieve, and I'm sorry it took a helicopter landing on my lawn for me to see it. Whatever relationship we have going forward is your choice. I'll respect whatever you decide. But I want you to know, I'm proud of you. Finally. Belatedly. But genuinely. Uncle Richard." I filed the letter away. Maybe someday I'd respond. Maybe not. Right now, I had a briefing with the National Security Council, a classified assessment due to the Secretary, and a meeting with allied defense ministers. I had a country to help protect. And that mattered more than any family relationship built on the assumption that I'd failed because I chose service over wealth. The helicopter had landed. And it had revealed exactly who had been living in the real world all along.